don't know if people know this or not, but in sports, if we want to give another player a bit of a wake-up call or something, we will oftentimes talk a little bit of trash because it's much more direct. It seems to stick a lot harder, and why it is that people are calling for somebody to get fired for telling the truth. Yeah, once again, it goes to show you exactly how weak and feminized we are as a society, and it looks like sports is the next institution to go.
I think he had a special night, but I don't think he's special. I've got to prove that over. You're special because you proved it over a course of time. He's not special. I'm just saying.
You know, guys, football is in fact being totally feminized. All right, I did a video last week on the whole Skip and Shannon debacle, revisited how it was that while Shannon Sharp may have in fact been correct in principle to be upset, he still howled like a woman during the conversation he had with Skip Bayless, and obviously he gave up whatever man card that he had. However, this one right here to me is a little bit different. Now, the other night, Sunday Night Football, Jets versus Chiefs. And don't worry, we'll talk about the Taylor Swift problem in the second video of the day. Rodney Harrison, former Patriots player, NFL football player for a long time, he had a bit of a reputation. Very good football player, but also a bit of a dirty player himself. He decided to have a bit of an interview post-game with Chris Jones, defensive tackle, the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are a very good team, and of course, the Jets without Aaron Rodgers are pretty much, what the hell else do you want me to say? They're the freaking Jets. They always suck. And now they have Zach Wilson, of course, at quarterback. Now, Zach Wilson, coming out of college, was highly touted, a lot of talent, all that type of stuff there. Could throw the ball 80 yards downfield while on the run with pure accuracy. However, it's not translated over to the NFL. Quite frankly, the guy isn't exactly what Rodney Harrison said at the very beginning of the video. Absolute trash. Now, guys, before we dive into this, I'm going to play the entire thing for you, and then we're going to talk about why it is that the NFL hasn't truly been feminized. Of course, not just with the Taylor Swift thing, which you saw last week with Skip and Shannon, with supposed alpha males completely losing their cool and becoming total betas online and then whining about it a year later. But also these text messages that came out, which we'll show you guys more of them here soon. With that there out of the way, let's go ahead and roll this, and let me explain why the hell this is, in fact, feminization of the sport.
Well, we were just watching 7-on-7s here with Zach Wilson, and he was missing wide open guys, and this is 7-on-7 without the offensive line. That has to be a concern. Was Zach better tonight than what you anticipated he would be watching him on tape? And you could be honest.
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, we knew it was going to be a battle. He's continuing to get better week in and week out, and he's continued to lead week in and week out.
But watching that tape, man, you got to look at this dude and say, oh, he is garbage. Like, we should really tear him apart.
Earlier, like I said, Zach Wilson is special, man. You just got to give the guy time. You know what I mean?
Wait. Did you say Zach Wilson is special?
Yeah.
I think he had a special night, but I don't think he's special. I've got to prove that over. You're special because you proved it over a course of time. He's not special. I'm just saying, Chris.
Hey, listen.
I'm just saying.
Really quick, I want to go ahead and answer or at least react to respond to the very first thing that Rodney said about 7-on-7 drills and not hitting your targets with no O-line or anything like that. That is a concern. However, I will say this, though. If you actually watch the game, Zach Wilson did for a while there like he was putting something together. I would say if you can actually get him into a bit of a rhythm, you might be okay. But then again, at the same time, I also have to be realistic with my viewers as well, who do, in fact, still watch this channel, of course, that may be from the city of New York, because I went and looked at my analytics and come to find out that New York City, actually, a lot of people from New York actually watch my content. And if you're a Jets fan, I got to be realistic with you. You're more than likely not going to get Aaron back until week 9 of next year, because he's probably going to go on the PUP list. It's an Achilles injury, and even though it was his left foot, he can recover from it. I never bought his career was over with. I never bought that line. As far as how good he's going to be, you still got to get him worked into the system and the scheme and all that stuff. So it could be a very, very long year and maybe a very long second year. But if you can get Zach Wilson some reps, and let's just say you end the season with a record of like 5-12 or whatnot, you may be able to get a quarterback to possibly play behind Zach next year, who would then in turn be playing behind Aaron come week 9, because more than likely you would probably redshirt the quarterback in the first round. But then again, at the same time, I think the left tackle position is the thing you need to go after. I just figured I'd go ahead and toss that out there before we go any further. But if Rodney Harrison is saying that, and I'm not saying that I believe Rodney Harrison, That's obviously a bit of a concern, but then again, though, Zach Wilson did put together a bit of a drive there in the second half, or right there before halftime, right before the team got to halftime. And, of course, the Jets had some pretty bad calls go against them. I just figured I'd go ahead and toss that out there before we go any further. But if he's missing receivers in 7-on-7 drills, it's definitely something that does, in fact, need to be cleaned up. I just figured I'd toss that out there before we go any further. Now, kudos to Chris Jones for being professional. I know that sounds like a bit of a contradiction from what I said earlier, but the thing is this right here. There's actually a multitude of problems here, but I want to go ahead and start with the feminization aspect. You see, a lot of people are upset because Rodney Harrison called a trash quarterback a trash quarterback. A lot of people were upset because he basically pointed out that this game was an easy win for the Chiefs, which, by the way, it should have been an easy win for the Chiefs. How the hell the Jets were able to turn this into a football game, I really and truly don't know. I mean, I felt that their defense, which, by the way, is stout, would actually be able to hold them in the game, at least until the second half, but they actually hung around. Maybe it's because Zach Wilson did do exactly what Rodney Harrison said. He had a bit of a special night. And maybe what Rodney Harrison is trying to say is that the kid is normally trash. He's definitely has a reputation for being trash. He's garbage. He absolutely sucks at his job. And he had a special night tonight, which is a good way of him saying, until he has a few more of these nights, I'm going to continue to call him trash. Now, why is this feminization of the NFL? Well, as you guys can obviously see with the tweets, it almost feels like participation trophies are being given out here. We're going to give Chris Jones a cookie because Chris Jones was able to kind of call Marvin Harrison out. You know, we're gonna give participation trophies to Zach Wilson because he played very well, even though his second half numbers really and truly were not as strong as his first half. I understand somebody's going to try to use stats and whatnot, but let's just go ahead and be honest. When it comes to the NFL, when it comes to sports, the eye test is the most important test that you shall actually have. But when was it that the NFL decided to say, you know what, look, we're going to create an entire fan base of people who, quite frankly, can't take trash talk? I did a video last week on Skip and Shannon. I talked about that, but I also brought up Bart Scott and his comments on Trevon Diggs. Of course, Trevon Diggs, cornerback for the Cowboys, tore his ACL. And, of course, Bart Scott decided he wanted to make a little bit of light about it, wanted to talk a little bit of trash. I'm glad it happened to the Cowboys. Oh, God, you know, let me go ahead and talk trash to the other team. Let me go ahead and talk trash to the opposition. Even though a lot of times they pair Bart Scott up on ESPN First Take with someone like, say, I don't know, Swagoo, who, by the way, is a former Cowboys player. I mean, Keyshawn Johnson played for the Cowboys. He gets trash talked to him all the time. You get Stephen A. Smith going after the Cowboys, talking trash all the time. You got Michael Irvin, a former Cowboys player, talking trash. I mean, it's kind of customary for NFL players to still talk a little bit of trash. So when Rodney Harrison says that you're garbage, just know that this is his way of trash talking. But people want Rodney Harrison fired. They want Rodney Harrison gone. Well, this right here is where I get to the second part of this entire discussion. Having somebody fired over speech, over something that was said, I mean, it's not like he walked into a room and called his boss man the F word, called him a girl or anything like that. So therefore, obviously, it's nothing to fire somebody about. He just simply said that a young quarterback who, quite frankly, has not played well is just simply trash. He had a good night. He was special tonight. Chris Jones politely put him in his place and said, you know what? He's actually been looking better on film. I don't know what the hell these guys are seeing, but then again, though, I'm not an NFL player. I'm not in the room with these guys. So therefore, I may not be able to spot certain things. I would say that most NFL scouts are probably like they're experts at what they do, but when it comes to actually mentioning, like actually looking at what you're looking for on the actual field of play, they're still very, very much novices when compared to actual players who go up against quarterbacks, who go up against wide receivers, who go up against players all the time. However, that does bring us to this little question of something that a lot of people did not bring up, which I'm going to bring up now. And that right there is Rodney Harrison himself. You see, one of the reasons why a lot of people got upset about this is because it is Rodney Harrison who said this. Now, let me explain this really quick before I really and truly get deep on this and take you guys back in history. This right here is completely, totally unrelated, and I wanted to do a video on this, but of course, seeing how it is that I plan on creating a sports archive channel where I talk about sports stories on a much more thorough basis, controversies, all that type of stuff. And I was even going to cover some WWE wrestling too, because I have some knowledge in that area. I was going to do a much longer form video on the person known as Trevor Bauer. If you know who Trevor Bauer is, he was suspended by Major League Baseball for 2 whole seasons because of an alleged sexual incident with a girl who, by the way, later on we found out was lying. Even posted a video of herself in bed with Trevor the day after the alleged incident. No bruises, no nothing. And text messages have been leaked showing that the entire thing was a great big giant scam. Like I said, I would more than likely be doing a video on that there, but because it is strictly a sports topic, sports-related topic, which, by the way, could in fact go for media criticism because the media jumped all over this, yeah, Trevor kind of fell on that whole spectrum of, how do I say, he's guilty before being proven innocent. Another victim of Me Too, stuff like that. Now, why in the world am I mentioning Trevor Bauer in a video about Rodney Harrison? Well, here's the reason why. People automatically got a very negative view of Trevor Bauer from the very start. He's not exactly a likable baseball player, and a lot of people out there were already saying, well, you know what, we believe that this right, we believe he's guilty. Oh my God, there's probably more girls that we don't know about, which, by the way, is absolute cope. Now, not all of them can be lying. It's possible that they could all be lying. It's possible that all these people could, in fact, be exaggerating. But what's the point here? The point is this right here. When you already have a negative perception of somebody, guess what? You're probably going to believe the bad news about the person. So what about Rodney Harrison? Well, let's go back in time. Rodney Harrison, when he played in the NFL, Rodney was kind of a dirty player. All right, Rodney had a bit of a past. Okay, he had a bit of a, let's just say he had a bit of a reputation. All right, that reputation was pretty bad. Now I'm not going to go through each and every individual incident one by one, but these incidents obviously got brought back up when one night on Sunday Night Football, somebody decided to lay a dirty hit on Teddy Bridgewater, and this right here was Rodney Harrison's response.
To me in 2006, where Bobby Wade, wide receiver, came and chopped my knees, tore my knee up. I'm laying on the ground. I look at Jeff Fisher. He's smiling and laughing. So this is typical of Jeff Fisher.
Now, granted, you can be upset about dirty play. You can be upset about somebody chop blocking you. I mean, the game of football is not for everybody. I mean, it's definitely turned to the National Fluff League. I mean, guys get injured in the fourth quarter, and next thing you know, we got to cancel a game, especially if it's a preseason one. Ronnie Lott, great safety of the San Francisco 49ers, actually had his finger, ripped off during a game. Yeah, basically came off, put it back on, he got back in there and he played. That may be a bit of an exaggeration, but of course they had to do surgery on all kinds of stuff. So when we say it basically got ripped off, it pretty much got ripped off. Lyle Alzado actually pulled off his football helmet and actually went after a player with that helmet. Now, while that may be a little bit crazy, the point that I'm trying to make is that the game has obviously came a long way to ensure safety. However, it may have gone a little bit too far. Maybe not just outside the bounds of actually playing the sport, a sport that I played, and quite frankly would have never been able to go pro if my life depended on it. I probably would have been more of a tackling dummy than anything else. The thing is this right here. We've made the game soft, not just on the field, but also off field. You see, Rodney Harrison, when he was complaining about that little chop block or whatever that Jeff Fisher, head coach at the time of the Tennessee Titans, had laid, Jeff Fisher did in fact have a response to this.
You're talking about a guy that had a great career and was hard to defend and was a really active defensive player. But this coming from a guy that had 18 unnecessary roughness penalties, 7 personal fouls, 4 roughing the passer penalties, a total of 77 penalties in his career, and was voted 3 times the dirtiest player in the National Football League, and was suspended for a helmet-to-helmet hit on Jerry Rice in 2000.
Basically, the response is, who the hell are you to talk, all right? You've got a bit of a dirty past. You've got a bit of a dirty play in your background. People know this. Maybe you might want to take a look in the mirror. That right there may be the real reason why it is that people often, let's just say that people have found a way to go after him. I mean, some of the people who threw tweets at Rodney Harrison were people who do in fact talk trash, who do in fact run their mouth, people who quite frankly should not actually comment on this situation. And while I do believe that the compliments for Chris Jones were in fact warranted because he obviously was very professional, I think that the comments laid towards Rodney Harrison and the demanding that he be fired is BS. All right. And of course, we all know the past of him bringing up previous incidents and blaming former coaches for having him chop blocked. when in reality he was a dirty player, and a very, very, very dirty player at that, may have been one of the main reasons why it is that people may have decided to jump on the bandwagon to say that he needs to be fired. Fact of the matter is that the NFL has in fact become feminized. When you can't actually talk trash, when you can't actually be able to get in the opponent's head, even before or after a game, or even as an interviewer, if you can't point out the absolute truth to a situation, how the hell do you expect men to grow? You see, when you are actually in playing football or sports, there's a such thing called criticism. Sometimes that criticism is laid out there in the form of insults. You're trash. You're garbage. Man, you really suck today. How the hell do you expect men to improve? Do you want to go over there and give them a chalkboard full breakdown so that way the guy straight up gets bored while he's learning how to fix his problems? Or do you want to go ahead and make it nice and dirty so that way it sticks with him, so that way he's motivated to come back and actually improve? It's one of these things that we keep on seeing when people talk about masculinity being toxic, or they say toxic masculinity. They're looking at the wrong form of masculinity. They're just picking anything and everything they can to just label toxic masculinity on it. That's the crowd that's going after Rodney Harrison, because he simply said that a quarterback who's not been playing good as of late has been absolute trash and is absolute garbage at this moment in time. I wonder if Zach Wilson gets that behind closed doors. I wonder if Garrett Wilson and his receivers say, you know, man, you're absolute freaking garbage. I mean, I know they said that to Russell Wilson when he was in Seattle, and of course he eventually improved. Maybe this right here is what Zach Wilson needs. Maybe he needs a bit of a wake-up call that there are former players out there saying that you're garbage. Maybe he may come back in the Week 5 matchup and, I don't know, maybe throw for 300 yards, and maybe the Jets just may win a game. I'm not a fan of the New York Jets and never have been. Aaron Rodgers was my team's quarterback, and thank God our quarterback so far has not turned out to be absolute trash or garbage. But if Jordan Love starts playing like garbage, guess what I'm going to say? I'm going to say he's garbage. That's just the way it is. Insults help build people up. That's just life, okay? If you want people to talk to you with this whole rosy attitude and give you step-by-step breakdowns on every single reason why it was not a good day, you're really and truly not going to learn anything, and the next thing you know, you're just going to end up becoming a very, very weak beta male. That right there is what the hell is going to happen. I think the people who are calling for Rodney Harrison to be fired are absolutely crazy and absolutely insane, and some of which, by the way, are also opportunistic in nature. So with that right there being said, it looks like the entire league has become very, very, very much feminized. But we'll be talking more and more about the feminization of the NFL and sports in the very next video as well, because the NFL's got this little Taylor Swift problem, and yeah, it looks pretty bad. So make sure you guys stick around for that one. Guys, John Claymore here. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys later.